In this lecture, I'm going to give a brief overview of Chapter 1, the historical development, and some basic issues specific to career counseling. So, the product of our development as a nation has happened, of course, over time and has had influence from multiple kind of systems at play. So, political, economic, to many kind of aspects of social progress and change. So, in your textbook, you're able to see Pope's 6 stages of development on page 3, and specifically the development of career counseling. I think it's important if you're going to be in the mental health field to understand that counseling actually began in the career counseling kind of world. Um, and with Parsons, Frank Parsons, that's going to be a name you're going to want to know for future licensure exams. He made plenty kind of early contributions to the field. So originally, he was educated as an engineer at Cornell. He wrote several books and articles on social reform, and he led the Vocational Bureau of Boston. So his major work was choosing a vocation. So it was all about what we would now consider to be called career choice. And he said there were 3 steps in choosing a career. First and foremost, you need to have a clear understanding of self. So understand aptitude, what you're capable of, ability, and your limitations. And so what are kind of those natural genetic predispositions or aptitude? What are you capable of? And then what's holding you back or what could hold you back? What are the knowledge of requirements and conditions for both success, advantages, disadvantages, knowing aspects like pay and your opportunities and difficult prospects and different prospects. And then last, you need to understand the true reasoning on the relations of these 2 groups of facts. So, the National Career Development Association is another organization you're going to want to be familiar with. They were established in the late 1900s as professionals began to meet nationally. So, this first occurred in 1910. And the hope was to aid in the employment of working Americans and to gain the support of the federal government, particularly around wartime. So NCDA used to be a division of ACA, the American Counseling Association. They have now since split apart. But I am, a member of both. I've been working with them in recent years to develop some classroom resources. And so if you have any interest in further connecting about career counseling, I highly recommend getting involved and possibly joining NCDA as a student member and seeing what else, other ways you can jump in kind of within that professional organization. The National Occupational Information Coordinating Committee, this was established by an act of Congress in 1976. And they created the National Career Counseling and Development Guidelines. In 1992, they developed the National Career Development Training Institute, and their purpose was to train personnel to assist students and adults to acquire career planning skills. So, what are some basic issues in the career counseling field? These are kind of those current issues and future needs in our development as a nation. And so originally, career counseling really focused on looking for the right career match to an individual's kind of assets or strengths. Now we seek to understand the client's traits, their motives, their aspirations, what are their preferred lifestyle or values, and their career and personal concerns. And so it's much more holistic in the way that we approach career counseling now. It traditionally had a lot of, or now it's more individualized intervention strategies. So we're matching that to the client sitting in front of us. And now, of course, we want to include and address all issues of diversity. So, for example, how does family influence career choice? So, number 2, looking at the career life perspective. We're looking at the interrelationship of all life roles. So, if you think about, clients who value time for family and leisure, their job status, where they're going to live, or their financial opportunities, We're going to value all of those aspects with a client. So we're looking between the interrelationship of those life roles, which suggests that the joys and frustrations one can experience in life are balanced through an assortment of activities and different roles. And then looking at career choice, we really at this point are looking at the individual strengths, also take into account the changing dynamics of the career global workforce, which that global is a really big emphasis in the field. So what happens when the economy shifts? What happens if your client's being laid off? Or how is outsourcing affecting their lives? All right, so working in the 21st century. And so this is looking at how work provides not only an income, but a personal identity. So there's going to be effects of technology here, and especially as we look at kind of the introduction of more advanced products. So in the additional resources information, you'll see I did a trailer for the movie The Internship, and a YouTube video about Google internships. And so these, both the movie and kind of the real life example, show kind of how the effects of technology are affecting folks in the workforce, and kind of what we need to be prepared to help clients build throughout their time. Kind of as they're pursuing or in their career world. And a part of this is we know that work patterns are shifting because of that global economy, as well as kind of the influence of technology. So we know that some workforces are really utilizing what we call independent contractors. So I have a friend who is in wind, and he's an independent contractor. So different large companies kind of hire him to come in and do the actual build of the windmills. So he is not working for that company, but for a short time during that kind of project. And once that project is done, he moves on to the next company. We know there's an increase in folks who are self-employed or freelance workers, as well as consulting. And then we also have, in certain fields, really utilizing contracting for special personnel. So if folks work in healthcare, they contract for certain positions. So if they're not, having enough people who are night nurses at the emergency room, then they'll do what's called hiring folks PRN. So they're not a full-time employee. They're not there 24/7, but they're coming in for a short period to complete a service. So with career counseling, we need to be prepared to help our clients really develop a skill of lifelong learning. Because of the changing workforce and how rapidly it's changing, clients need to be prepared to always be changing with the changing workforce. And so new knowledge brings changes within the world of work and the life within 21st century. And then, of course, we need to be prepared as counselors to work with a culturally diverse client base. So we must understand the influence of culture and a multicultural society. You'll see this is a passion of mine, and I integrate kind of the influence of culture throughout this course because I would be doing you a disservice if you were only prepared to talk about career, but not prepared to talk about career and its influence and how it's influenced by um, culture and diversity. So we know that, career counseling was created to meet the demands of an ever-changing society. And so, this is what now exists, a global economy and increased kind of economic, political, and social interconnectedness. So because of technology, suddenly these workforces can be, spanning multiple time zones, spanning all over the world. And we know that there has to be effective use of career information. So we have to prepare our clients for a variety of current career information resources and how to access reputable and dependable, reliable resources. And then always, and this is what I'm going to talk about throughout this entire course, the emphasis of integrating both career and personal counseling. I don't see these two as separate entities. You're not going to be doing mental health counseling over here and doing career counseling over here. I actually see these two working very closely together, and that being something that you're doing at the same time. And so counselors must understand how career choices influence personal choices and vice versa. So, looking at that whole person and really integrating the two together. Jump on the question answer discussion board if you have any questions here.